I hear that. We talked some shit this morning.
Good deal, good deal. We got a little addition to our show this morning. Her name's Tia. Say hello.
Hi.
Tia, this is Michael Minardi.
Hi, Michael.
Yep, this is our cannabis expert. We've been going over a lot of things about cannabis. Yeah. Did you hear some of the articles we've been talking about?
I have not, but I was calling to touch base on a couple. Hopefully, maybe one of the ones you're talking about is the one that just came out from Colorado.
Which one?
Well, the one about their traffic fatalities are at their lowest point ever.
No, we didn't touch on that one, but we were talking about something similar with the cops, how they're, they don't know what to do pulling people over, so now they're going after people with fireworks, which is a good thing. But no, why don't you go ahead and touch on that, Mike? That's a good subject.
Yeah, yesterday it came out that, the Colorado traffic fatalities are down to the lowest point in its history. Soon after, and remember, the Florida Sheriff's Union in this state, on the Just Say No or No on 2 campaign, is spreading propaganda that they're worried about the dangerousness of cannabis and driving because of all the people that have been testing positive for cannabis after accidents and things like that.
Oh.
So this clearly refutes any worry that they have regarding, the BS that they're spreading. The cannabis is dangerous and causes more traffic fatalities.
Oh, dude, I know from experience it doesn't make me a dangerous driver. Let me just put it to you that way. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm more cautious. I drive slower.
5 miles an hour.
Yeah, instead of 40 miles an hour over the speed limit, you do like 5 miles, over the speed limit. You're looking out. I mean, come on, that was a given. They should have known that, you know what I mean? But it's good that it's finally being recognized now because that makes it, that makes more people aware.
A lot of people die from traffic accidents.
Recognized in the media with studies because it has been studied numerous times before. There was actually an insurance agency, I believe out of Europe, who published an article a couple years ago regarding that he thinks, or that they thought, eventually, once cannabis legalization becomes more mainstream, that people would actually get a deduction in their insurance if they were cannabis smokers.
See, that's perfect. Well, because they know you're going to drive safer.
What insurance company is that?
I was going to say.
Enough said, Joe. We're all wanting to know what insurance company that is. Sign us up now.
Please get back to us with that.
Yeah, right? And then remember, impaired driving, when they judge it, it just means different than before.
Yeah.
And most studies show that people, like you said, drive slower, leave more distance between vehicles.
Yep. Absolutely.
Things like that.
Michael, look at it this way.
Dangerous.
Look at it this way, Michael. Look at the statistics that they have as far as driver fatalities, people smoking cannabis, up against driver fatalities, people drinking alcohol. Okay? So...
It's not even a comparison.
Exactly. There are no statistics. The only reason anybody has ever died smoking weed is because they dropped the joint and went looking for it as they're doing 80 miles an hour down the highway and crashed in and killed themselves.
Yes.
So that was their own stupidity. They shouldn't have been driving anyway.
Could have been something else they dropped.
That's not responsible cannabis use.
Exactly. Thank you, Michael. Perfect example. Irresponsible use of cannabis. If you're going to smoke and drive... Okay.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid.
He could have dropped
smoke and drive.
Could have dropped anything. Could have been a quarter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. There's no reason to put your head down.
There's no statistics.
Yeah, you have the same problem with cigarettes. I don't know how many times I've seen somebody drop a cigarette, lean down to pick it up while they're doing 80 mile an hour.
Yeah, look at those statistics, Michael. Look at how many people have died from cigarettes. Am I correct?
Ma, no hands.
Well, we know texting and driving right now is coming out to be more dangerous than drinking and driving. So.
Really?
Yeah,
I believe it.
That's something I didn't know.
That's
there
interesting.
was a study recently, and they're about equivalent.
Wow.
But, my neighbor's 16-year-old daughter got killed by a drunk driver a few years ago. So, that has never happened with cannabis, never been associated with it. There was one story out of Colorado earlier this year about a guy hitting a bunch of cop cars. I don't know if he killed or injured the officer. And they said he was DUI, he was on cannabis and stuff. What the mainstream media left out was that he was also 3 times the legal limit on alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think marijuana gets a bad rap because, the marijuana and they were on meth. You know what I mean? But everybody smokes weed.
Lou can vouch for the fact that our young childhood. I have done far more stupider and dangerous things drunk on alcohol, drinking beer than I ever would have thought about doing when I was just smoking cannabis, being mellow, watching some movie.
Certainly, absolutely. I'm sure we've all been to that point. Drunk and stupor is what we call it. Drunk and stupor. That's where it came from. You don't hear anybody, Mike. Do you ever see a headline in the news? Stoned and stupid. You know what I mean? You don't see that. You know.
It's drunk and stupid.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, how's your day going today? How's the weather down there?
It's going well. It's beautiful down here, and I'm driving down to sunny Fort Lauderdale this morning. Traffic's good. No problems here.
Good deal.
A couple other good studies that came out to reaffirm cannabis as a neuroprotectant and help repair brain damage. There was also an article about cannabis helping restore stem cells.
Yeah, see, we like to hear that.
People.
Yep.
Years ago there was an article on cannabis counteracting the brain-damaging effects of alcohol in the human brain. So it confirms the federal government or the National Institute of Health's patent on cannabis as a neuroprotectant that we spoke about last night, Lewis.
I'm bringing that up right now. Yep, I'm bringing that up right now.
And they know it. It's a neuroprotectant. This is a safe, effective medication. And the last thing that I just wanted to touch base on, and this is people in Florida and people all over the country that are fighting against these cannabis laws. You have to be educated. You have to have knowledge about this. So when people bring up bullshit, you can talk shit and tell them what the truth is.
Exactly.
That, teen use in most states is down that have passed medical use, and at a minimum has stayed the same. There's now a flip. It used to be for every 12 to 17-year-old, every 2 and a half, 12 to 17-year-old, there was one older person smoking cannabis. That statistic has flipped. There's more older people smoking cannabis now than there are teens.
Certainly, that's because this country's becoming more aware about it, and people the fear is becoming alleviated. People are not fearing the government from prosecution. We were talking about that before. I have this article up that we talked about yesterday. The U.S. patent number is US 6630507B1. Publication number is exactly that. It just goes through to say how the medical benefits of cannabis to the brain and the autoimmune disease that it fights and all the good things that it does and the fact that it's a U.S. government patent, that they already hold this patent. And Mike, when was the original patent? Because this says file date 1999. So is that
is from the National Institute of Health filed that. I believe it was either at or around the time of the Institute of Medicine report, which debunked the gateway theory and said that more research needs to be used for cannabis.
So there you have it, folks. The government holds a patent on how it already. Are you all right there?
Perfect example of government misinformation is when we were all in our teens.
Hold on, Paulie. I heard. Yeah. Hold on, Mike. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I heard a little whoa. I just want to make sure you're still with us, buddy. Paulie, I think that's your buddy beeping in. Hold on, all right? Let me, Paulie, I'm gonna. Paulie, do me a favor. Message him. Let him know as soon as we get off the line with Michael. We'll give him a call back.
Yeah, no problem.
So my point was, so now here's since 1999, as Michael's brought to our attention, a patent that the government holds on the benefits, the medical benefits of medical marijuana, medical cannabis, but yet they're the biggest opposer of medical cannabis and its medical benefits. So explain that one. I mean, how does this work? I don't get this.
All know that this is all about money with the pharmaceutical companies. And there was actually another patent issued to GW Pharmaceuticals, I believe it was around May of 2013, for the use of cannabis and cannabis properties and extracts in the treatment of cancer. So, and if anyone saw the Sanjay Gupta episode, you would have seen at the end of the second show that, they showed GW Pharmaceuticals laboratory, which consisted of a huge grow room for cannabis to extract plant material. So that's what the government wants. That's about money. It's an $891 billion industry in this country. The makers of oxycodone and Vicodin are the two biggest contributors to drug-free America. Get that one right.
Yeah.
Wow.
How does that
my
work?
God.
How does that?
The company that kills 14,000 people a year in oxycodone.
Yeah, big farms destroyed this state.
Yes, exactly, and in turn destroyed rest of the country.
Yes.
You know, they're still having tons of problems with this, and the next thing that people are going to is heroin because it mimics a lot of the same properties of the oxycodone now that
It's all opioids.
it's more difficult to get. So,
Well, the heroin's cheaper.
pharmaceutical companies are the reason behind this. They're the reason behind cannabis being illegal. Originally, it started with paper and wood and nylon and ropes, and the people that were the investors were the people with the power, and William Randolph Hearst and Andrew Mellon, whose nephew was Harry Heffler, who was the first ever chief of the Narcotics Bureau in this country, who villainized cannabis to ensure that they were wealthy. And that's the only reason why cannabis is illegal today. Greed and money.
Yep.
It all started, and it could start. We could end our reliance on foreign fuel today. Harry T. Ford knew how to make a hemp-fueled car back then. We could easily do it today if we wanted to.
And we need to.
Yeah, that guy you were
Absolutely.
talking about, isn't he the guy who created and pushed the whole reefer madness video and craze and all that we were talking about earlier?
You got
When he
it.
started-
That guy, that scumbag who was the nephew of Andrew Mellon, who had investments in DuPont, had William Hearst giving him money. They were the first ones to villainize weed and said it caused the black man to rape the white women and to go crazy, and it was
Yeah,
jazz.
that's him. Yeah.
That's them. He
Yeah.
was their nephew. He was the guy's nephew. Andrew Mellon's nephew, who was one of the owners of Mellon Banks.
My grandma's
back in
still
the
worried about that.
1900s.
That's
He was
crazy.
a big investor in oil, and Harry Ford was creating a way to create cars that would run off of hemp fuel, and he didn't like it.
Yeah, well, because he stood to lose billions and billions and billions.
Yeah, we'll do another day on hemp, because hemp is a totally different story why it's illegal. It's insane. It's an agricultural crop that could make this state and states across this country millions of dollars.
I was talking
Instead of
earlier,
paying
Michael.
farmers
Just
to
in
not grow,
textiles.
they could
Yeah.
be growing cash crops.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Michael, I touched earlier
Better
on.
renewable resources.
Yep.
God damn it, they're using hemp in Russia to suck the radiation out of the freaking
Chernobyl.
soil after the Chernobyl meltdown.
Yep, I follow it very closely. I want to go there with the drone chopper one day and have some photographs.
Great. Now there's going to be garbage weed showing up.
That's right.
Radioactive
And this shows,
garbage
you
weed
know,
because I can't buy it in a store.
Radioactive.
What are they going to call that strand, Michael? Is that going to be atomic funk or something like that?
What strain is that?
Atomic funk, right?
You're
Right?
Russian
Yeah.
hemp. Can't wait till that
Listen,
hits
man.
the streets.
We talked about it earlier. We were touching about biodiesels and how back a couple of years ago I was very interested in biofuels, so I did a lot of research, and it turns out that hemp seeds and hemp oil is probably the cleanest oil you could use to make biodiesel.
That's right, brother.
Yep, and it's the
That's what
cheapest.
Henry Ford was
That's
doing.
producing.
It's the cheapest crop because the seeds are so abundant. When you get a seed pod, there's a couple hundred seeds in there. So think of, it's like Michael said, it's an endless resource that we haven't even looked at and touched the surface on in years, but we've always known about it, and it's been hidden from us.
We're the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't grow and cultivate and manufacture hemp.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. It's crazy. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's been used for those Christians out there that are saying, "Oh, it's the devil." Listen, Jesus Christ Himself, His clothes, they were made of hemp. So wake up, people. Wake up. That's all I have to say. Wake up. Open your mind. Open your mind. Don't listen to other people and make your own opinion. Form your own opinion, but educate yourself.
and read the Bible. You know, I